Oh, hello, my fellow chess bros. We're back at it again with another educational day of chess. We're going to play a 10-minute game. We're on chess.com this time instead of Lichess for no specific reason. We're facing an 1804 from Mexico. Today I'm 1810. I did just lose a heartbreaking game where I had an absolute advantage. So we're going into the Caro-Kann advanced variation. Yup. We're going to bring out the bishop. This is the main line. You can get fancy when you're playing the white pieces and try and go for this pawn advance. But we're going to just trade off that light square bishop because I have so many pawns on light squares. We're basically pushing this because I want a good square for my knight, okay? That, I believe, is the most challenging line, and what am I supposed to do here? Give me a gosh darn moment. Chess is so complicated. I see this move quite a bit, and if I bring this, if he takes, I bring the queen, then he hits me. It's almost surely not to take. But if I do just bring the knight, it kind of poses other problems. And my knight has not developed yet, so I don't want to block it off. So I'm not 100% sure. You don't see this too often. And so I should be better equipped to handle a position such as this. Out of the Caro-Kann, the only opening that I actually understand. And so, oh boy. Immediate, we have so much tension going on in the center. Look at all of this. Criss-cross, applesauce, everything wants to take everything. And I think when we're in a situation like this, we need to make a concession and just develop the knight to defend this. And then we're going to have a change of plan with this bishop. The bishop was planning on coming out here and dying, was basically his life. And so what we're going to do now is, I believe, go this way for the ability. Okay, so we have to take with this. He comes with the knight. Push forward and attack the queen. I mean, he takes, I take, he hits us with a fork. We're not going to be doing none of that. This is still temporarily pinned. So I think we're going to step back to here. I selected this square because I think we probably just want to trade some stuff off here. I'm not going to think about it for too long. This is also hanging. So one thing you got to take note of, I don't think there's a good way for him to get out of it. He wants to just trade back like this, but that pawn was defending this pawn. So now I believe I can jump forward and attack the queen. Yes, the knight is kind of a liability, if anything, in this position. And he can get some ideas such as this. I mean, he's attacking the knight, so my options are basically as follows. I mean, I can give a check, but that doesn't do anything. If I take, then he just takes. Then I can hit him with a check. Then he steps forward, but I'm worried about this fork. I can also just ignore it, and move my knight here, but then take. I'm up a pawn, so let's just take. This fork is definitely something that we're going to have to deal with now. And potentially the way we do that is just, for one, there's this check, and I can kind of get a piece involved, then step back and defend that. Ooh, because I can't defend it here. How does that look? I also have another check after that. So I'm thinking that this check, because I can develop a piece with check. If he steps back, I'm just going to take, bring his king to the center. Scoot my king up. I mean, he'll put a rook here. What am I supposed to do? I mean, if I go here, he can't immediately do this, and I could just make this guy step out. But I don't see an immediate reason not to just do this. And basically, if he does step back, that gets his king involved. I mean, I have to do it. I don't really have a great alternative. This fork is basically what we need to be worried about. And what if I step forward now? You can't hit me on that open file for another move. My knight is super weak hanging out over here. So he does want to go for that. But I think I might just attack the knight. First things first, we attack the knight. Or develop another knight. or go for a check. We're going to attack this knight first. If he goes back, I mean, we have this check. You then have to kind of worry about this pawn a little bit. Not a whole lot, but at least a little bit. So this check, the king probably scoots here. The forward momentum of his knights is being kind of negated by all of my pawns just attacking a lot of crucial squares for his knights to move forward. So I'm up a pawn, but I'm not winning. Or I'm not, like, haven't won yet. I can jump over here, and then he jumps here. Because if he goes forward, there's this fork. So here, we step out of the way of all the nonsense. Just bring my knight first. Bring my not active rook. I'm coming up with so many ideas. I'm not sure if any of them are accurate. I like the check idea. Check here. But then that knight moves. So... Oh, booger. I don't know what to do. I'm going to move. Really hard for me to say what was the correct move there. But I want to just step over and then rook's on the open file. Because this is my extra pawn. So it's going to take a little bit to actually do anything useful with that. I'm going to set up the same exact thing you were trying to set up on me. Like, almost for sure I want to step over. Still, his knights can't necessarily move forward. Like, look at my pawns just doing an amazing job. This pawn is still undefended in the middle of the board. But I might be happy to just trade everything off. That lets this knight go here. What's he going for? He wants to jump in and attack this. Here, here, here. If you jump in, I take, you step back. And I have no way of defending that pawn. Definitely don't want to be losing that pawn for no reason. Trade one rook. And then just advance. Spend another 2 minutes thinking about what to do in this position. Because this fork is what we're worried about. What if I just push forward? Slight little push forward. I mean, we didn't want the knight going there to fork our pawns, so now the knight can't go there and he can't fork our pawns. So it seems like it made sense. He can also jump in here. I'm like, bro. Take, step back, jump here. He'll probably jump here. I'll step forward. He jumps here. These knights are too close to my stuff. I need, like, at least something going on. So what if I go here? If he does take, or I could like invest, take, jump here. He then attacks. I then go here. He then goes here. And I still can't defend my pawn over here. That is the issue in the position, 1000%. So I think I need to bring this knight. And I'm also attacking this pawn. So like here, here, here. You're sort of attacking the pawn, but I can push. If you attack here again, I push. I like it. This is basically what we don't want. And I'm attacking a pawn. So it was doing something proactive. He steps back to defend the pawn. Makes sense. I can then bring my other knight to the middle. And I feel like that's what we're doing. We're having a knight battle right now. And I'm not 100% sure like what's the right idea. Almost definitely I just need to bring the king forward. He wants a draw. Bro, I'm not accepting a draw. I'm here to win. Here. Still, his knight can't move forward in a great way. Probably like this is his best idea. Immediately challenge this knight. He'll probably step back. Okay, we got rid of one knight, and now I might just come in. We scoot the king forward. Scoot this forward. I think we trade this. We're going to kind of freeze this side of the board because I'll make a passed pawn on this side when the time is right, but my king is like one step closer. So I think making some advancements over here, because his king is going to have to go deal with me creating a passed pawn over here. So what's the correct way to do all of that? Potentially I push this first. I push here, he hits me with check, and I step over. But then I have like a way to get in later. So we're going to go like this is the plan, where he's going to have to basically keep his king on this square to prevent me from getting in. Lock it down. What we really don't want is a ZUGWANG, but he's the one that's in it, not me. So this is like an instructive king and pawn endgame. I'm up a pawn, but I have extra moves in the position. Right now his king kind of has to make a decision. Yeah. Oh boy. That was complicated, I'm not going to lie to you. And I had 1 minute 47, he had 6 minutes, so that's probably made a good video because we don't have to sit here thinking about what's the opponent going to do. We're sitting here, me explaining what I'm going to do. And so, all right, quite proud of that. Let's check the accuracy. I'm not 100% convinced that I played very accurate in this all-encompassing endgame here. But this pawn capture, I know this from just playing the Caro-Kann. Like, this pawn is defended by this knight and this pawn. So when you go for this capture, if you move the knight, that was like a real quick sequence of removing both defenders of this pawn, and you jump forward and the queen is always here and you're attacking the queen. And so you just grab a pawn and it still shows that white is still slightly winning. So there was a resilient way to fight back. I think basically I'm grabbing a pawn at the cost of my knight is undefended in the middle of the board. His pieces are just better developed than mine, if you even want to call my queen developed. And so he can pretty much just castle and like launch an attack, and I am miles away from like being able to actually castle in a useful way. And so, okay, let's grab this. We're gonna go over to the analysis. I'll see you over there. And here we are in the analysis, and I played that a little bit better than I thought. I thought that I made some large blunders in the endgame, quite possibly, but it turns out everything worked out all right. So if we look at this graph, it shows a tale of an equal opening, an equal middle game, and then it just slightly slipped out of our opponent's favor, and I was able to just capitalize, and it just grows exponentially. And so he's got 3 inaccuracies, 2 blunders, 85% accurate, and then I've got 2 inaccuracies, 1 blunder, and a 92% accurate. So a fairly accurate game, I must say. It all spawned from the Caro-Kann, the advanced variation. There's a lot of things that you could know here. I don't know if I should go into great detail about all of them because none of it happened, so let's not, and I'll save you the time. We developed this. These are all the best computer lines. We basically have a lot of pawns. Sorry, that's not ours. We basically have a lot of pawns on light squares, so we get rid of the light square bishop because it can kind of just get harassed on this side of the board, so you just want to get rid of it. So you've got the chance to get rid of it. Go for the pawn break, the best move. Develop the knight is the best move. You bring the queen, you get hit on the head, and then we scoot back to this square because it's just like you're going to be safe. There's going to be no discoveries with this. The knight can't jump forward and attack you like this, and it maintains on this file. I guess I couldn't really have gotten off of this file, but that's why we go here. And then also the bishop can still go forward, and the knight has retreating squares if we need them. So that's why this square. My pieces can like function around it quite well, while opponent's pieces can't quite reach me immediately, okay? So that's why there's a lot going on in this move, but sometimes you got to pick like which square is better. This one is better. It's slightly more active, and it's good for my pieces, and it's good against the enemy's pieces. So we go here, we take, and then my inaccuracy of the game is going up a pawn, which is hard to explain, but that's my inaccuracy. It went from an equal position to a 0.6 position, and it's not in my favor. And so the reason for that is my pieces are hardly developed. His pieces are uber developed. He's ready to castle, and he's got ideas like the fork that came through that can all happen. So I'm attacking the queen. He could just scoot the queen back, but he scoots the queen forward, and we still have an equal position because he's down a pawn, but like I said, he is the one with the attack. So once we trade off these queens, this idea didn't make any sense. The best move is to scoot the king forward, and so he didn't, which allowed me to trade off his active piece. That was the idea, like throw in a check and get rid of it, because I need to develop my pieces, and if I can develop them essentially like with tempo, however you want to phrase this, now we've got a good position. And what I needed to realize here is these knights are defending each other. I was worried about the fork. I'm worried about moving the rook to not defend this pawn. And I'm also worried about my knight not being defended. And then I'm worried about like if I moved up here, then the rook idea comes into play. And so what I needed to realize here is I can just attack this. You can't take this, because then I win this with check. So you would have to counterattack my knight. I could then scoot a number of different ways. Let's see what the best is. A number of different ways. He then has to step forward with his king, and then I trade this off. This knight takes a step back. This fork is no longer even something that exists, and I'm basically ready to bring my knight and bring it into the action with check. I was supposed to see all of that, and I didn't. So I play what seems like a better move. Like we were worried about the fork. Why put my king in the middle of the board? Like, I wanted to maintain defending this pawn. I could have solved all that by bringing the rook. So that's my blunder of the game, and it threw away my advantage completely, because now he's down a pawn, but like I said, he's basically the one with the attack. He's ready to step over and just bring both rooks, and my king is in the middle of the board, and his knights are also just doing work, and my knights are still yet to develop, and I'm playing without a rook. I'm basically playing without 8 points of material. So the game continues. We develop my knight, and I have a comfortable advantage yet again. We put my rook behind the king. Don't hate it. We scoot the king over. Now these guys see each other. We push the pawn. One of the best moves. I could have jumped forward with this. Rook on the open file. I kind of overthought this one. Both are generally equal. Can you see? I guess you can't see. Here we go. The top computer lines. They're all very similar, so this move is just as good. We trade off the piece, and then he sent me a draw request somewhere in this area of the game. But I'm never accepting a draw, dude. I'm the one playing for a win. Maybe if you capture a pawn, then I'll accept your draw. But he shouldn't have traded off the knight. Also, it doesn't have the timestamps, so I had enough time, but I didn't have a lot. And so this is a simple fork. I could have just won this pawn, but then my knight's over here. He could potentially get like trapped in some sort of way, so why be risky? Bring the king, push the pawn, trade off the knight. Huge blunder by our opponent, because he's trading off his last active piece into a losing king and pawn endgame. And then so you just kind of need to know your king and pawn endgames a little bit. Long story short, anything I play here is pretty much good. If I play this, I'm still going to win. So when it says -2, it doesn't matter, because it's going to just grow. So like whatever move, is there any move that isn't good? I could literally play anything. And so it doesn't matter. It gets a little bit tricky here, because we've got opposition. And so it gets tricky for our opponent. So basically he can never leave the defense of this square, because if he does, I'm going to get in and win this pawn. And so he can't allow that, but he also can't like push this, and then I have an entry over here to win these pawns. And so my pawns are pretty close to promoting over here, so this isn't even equal. Mine is better, because I'm 3 squares away from promoting if we get rid of this pawn. Yours is like 4 squares away if we get rid of this pawn. So, long story short, we do this off, we lock down the position. The important thing to note here, why he resigned, is he doesn't have any legal moves other than moving the king away from the opposition. And this is opposition right here. where the kings are facing each other. They're all kissing the same 3 squares, and we're both like, I don't want to move, you move. I don't want to move, you move. And we're in ZUGWANG, and what's important to note is I have moves in the position. He does not. If he pushes this, I just get a passed pawn. Or this one. It doesn't matter. Either or. He can't really push this pawn. And if he moves the king this way, I come in this way. And if he moves this way, I come in this way. And so that is why he resigned in this position, because I'm getting in. Whichever you want, I'm either coming in here to win these guys, or I'm coming in here to win these guys. And however you do it, my pawns are faster in the end game. I basically just got to clear, step out of the way, promote. And he's got to do a lot of zigzagging to even get to my pawns. So 92% accurate. You know, we made a blunder here and there, but in the end game, we were able to figure it out. And so thank you so much for watching. You guys are literally the best. If you feel so inclined, please subscribe. These videos take a little bit of time for me to make and analyze, and you better believe there's games that like aren't good enough, or I just lose. So I got to play like three games to get a game good enough to actually post. So thank you guys so much again. I'm not going to take up any more of your time, so I'll see you next time. Bye.